What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Very Vehicular. As always, I'm your host, Brian Scotto. Today's kind of special because this is the first time we've had anyone from the off-road community on the show. Can't believe it's taken 7 months to do it. Our guest today, I've known him for about 10 years now. It's Blake Wilkey. He's probably best known for getting arrested for making a video. We'll let him explain that. Anyway, enjoy it. Mr. Blake Wilkey, welcome to the show.
What's up, dude?
It's good, man. It's good to see you. It's been a little bit.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm just going to jump right into this moment because I think this is like where our roads intersect. So it's 2016 and somebody's like, dude, you got to see this video.
Every freaking time, dude.
And it's obviously the original urban assault. And I don't think I've ever been more conflicted in my life because on one side, as like a filmmaker, I was like, this is rad. And like, there was a bunch of really cool stuff in there. And, you know, it was a lot of stuff that like we were already kind of doing, right? Obviously we've done Recoil and Gymkhana films. But then there was the other side of me that was like, oh my God, you are going to cause me such a headache because I'm now going to have to prove to people that there aren't what they call copycat type people to do stuff. But like that obviously jettisoned you into like a whole different space. You've obviously gone and made a bunch of other videos, and I know you've talked on the initial urban assault, but like you had some jail time, you had some fines, you had a lot of that. Just give us the quick background on kind of how like that all came together, and like what made you think it was a good idea to go steal all of those locations in San Diego.
I mean, they were already our thrash spots, dude. Like we'd ride our pit bikes, or little XR50s and bikes and scooters and shit growing up on all these embankments or like just similar features, you know, grew up racing dirt bikes. So like, you know, even like on the freeway, you see like mountains, you're like just thinking like, like I'm going to jump all this shit. Same thing. Car was getting sold to the head of security in Qatar. So I was like, last hurrah, let's go friggin' hit all the local spots and film it. You know, I think we spent like $400 that day. Gave my homie a couple hundred extra bucks to edit it. Corey from Perplex, and dropped something with copyrighted music and didn't make really any money on the back end, but that thing banged probably like 100 million views between Facebook and all these other platforms that were sharing it, like Gas Monkey Garage. I think you guys even shared it.
Yeah, and because of the illegalness of it, I think it got even further because it was so many people were talking about it. So I couldn't remember what year it was, so I looked it up today to just be like, what year was it? I remember it was 2015, 2016, and I actually found like the Hot Rod Magazine article, and like the title was like 45 days in jail, you know, but it was worth it, you know, 100%. It was like was the thing, and I think that the illegality of it actually got even more people kind of talking about it. But when you put that out, so for those of you, you should just pause this and go watch it and come back. But you basically made like your own kind of, you know, action film through San Diego, through hills and like crazy kind of like wall rides, all these different things that you did, like jumped over cars. There was a whole bunch of different things happening. Yep. And you did it all without any permits, with a super small team. Like it was real, like raw skate video style. Like you went and what we call like you stole all the locations, right? Yeah. When you put it out though, did you think, oh shit, we're gonna eventually get in trouble, or did you think like maybe no one will see it?
I didn't think it was gonna go as viral and create so much attention.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I was actually like when it hit the news, like the day after we dropped it, and then the thing already banged 1 million views. I was like, what? Like, oh shit, okay. Like, and then they're like, what are local authorities going to do about this? You know, hoodlum. And I'm like, called my friend who was an attorney. I'm like, what do you think I should do? And he's like, probably hire me for representation. Like, you know, otherwise they're going to potentially detain you or come arrest you at your job, at your workplace or whatever. And yeah, I was like, that's not good. You're hired.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was working construction downtown at the time, And every time, like, there's a lot of cop cars that park all over the place downtown San Diego. And I'm working on one of the new city college buildings, and it's all open walls and stuff. And I'm like, every time I see a cop go by or park down below, I'm like, am I going to get hemmed up? But yeah, it was crazy how gnarly that thing just spiked and took off.
Yeah.
And unreal. Like, you can't really duplicate it, I don't think, unless you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Which I don't recommend, because that was my first time going to jail. And
so you did end up having to go to jail
for 4 days because I had other reckless driving charges on my record that I was on informal probation for. So I went to jail for 4 days, 45 days house arrest, 3 more years of informal probation. And it was the most 45 productive days I've ever had with an ankle bracelet on and shit. Like, because I was working construction, but I had my own shop under Wilkey Works. So like 10 o'clock curfew, like can't go anywhere else but these 2 establishments really. So I was going to work and then going to the shop afterwards and just full crush mode. And I built the next car, Megalodon, which we did Urban Assault 2 with in that time span, finished it off after selling the car and figuring out all the fines and shit.
Yeah.
Which was like close to 10 grand. Whatever.
I mean, it probably would have been more expensive to permit it all. So.
Oh, for sure. You know, but it just really helped, I guess, my name get out there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for sure.
No, I mean, I remember that week because it was kind of everywhere. And, this was a period of time, like, we had done the Gymkhana films. We actually had done Recoil at that point. And there was a lot of
inspiration for
me. Well, there was but there was a lot of lookalike. Like, everyone was trying to make a kind of that kind of video. I don't think that's as popular anymore. But at that period, it was just a lot of people trying to make a drift video that felt like Gymkhana, or an off-road video that felt like Recoil. And then you came out with this thing that was super raw, had not, obviously, like you told me, like $600 in budget in total. And was probably
with production
and had that same initial impact.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it really hit. And like, and I'll look, I think I want to give you the credit because I think the legal part was definitely something, but it was that vehicle just looked really cool flying and doing the things it was doing. Right. Like, it really worked. And I think the rawness of it. Yeah. There it is right there,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I think that, and look, I might be a little biased because, I enjoy Volkswagens, but like, it just looked really fun. And to me, it really had that skateboard video vibe, which is what we were always, trying to do with Gymkhana. So yeah, because I think I reached out to you at that early point, or maybe you and I had just started talking on something else. And I was just like, dude, I'd love to do something with you, but like right now you're like too hot. I can't touch you because you're like the exact opposite of what we're trying to do with the brand. I'm like, let it cool off for a little bit and we'll do some more stuff together, which obviously we eventually did. But yeah, I mean, after that, like, I imagine doing the next film was easier because now you had a bunch of people who knew you had a following.
Yeah. No, totally. And we did it in Vegas with my boy Nick Breon for Urban Assault 2.
Yep.
Right downtown Fremont Street, on Fremont Street, and everywhere close to that. Just like Urban Assault, everywhere was within like 10 minutes of my home. So like, we knew all the spots. We didn't even have to go scout it. We were just like, let's go hit this spot, this spot, this spot. Everyone's like, we all know those.
Whose idea was the knocked over K rails?
That was mine.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
because I think one of the things that's really hard to replicate is what off-road suspension can do, not in the whoops.
Yeah.
Right. Like seeing something in a more mechanical state, and like with like Recoil, you remember the Recoil 2 we did in Ensenada, there was like the housing foundations we came down, the drop offs.
Sick.
Like, that was one of those things that, like, when we saw it, and I want to give credit to, it was actually BJ's helicopter pilot, Tony Ferrari, who saw it and was like, what about that? And BJ and I were like, oh, that's perfect, right?
That was gangster.
It's like finding something like that to show off what suspension can do is really difficult when you're not in just whoops, and like having it like coordinate well. So that worked out really well.
Yeah, where it's just natural shit that's urban environment. 100%. Yeah. And that was fun at first. When they were super tight, like, we ended up gapping them out, and then like, you couldn't come into it and you'd get pop off it, and then you'd land and you didn't have speed. So it was like, just beat the hell out of you, the testing that shit. So then like, I got another K rail, they were remodeling that hotel next to Atomic Liquors. I went over there and borrowed sandbags and some of their scaffolding wood and like made it to where like I could jump up into it and then start clipping the tops and spread them out. So like that feature took a little bit of time to really dial in and just to make look cool. But when it did, you know, the slow-mo that Brian Lambert got of it with the camera car and stuff, it just shows those King shocks just cycling. And it was still pretty violent because like, yeah, it doesn't look violent, but it was violent. Most of the stuff isn't. People don't understand how violent it is. I think the least violent car I have is my Class 11.
Wait, really?
For sure.
I would think the exact opposite.
I'll take you for a ride. You'll understand after I take you for a rip. Yeah. If you drive it respectfully. I mean, any vehicle, you get out of shape a little bit. You know, you're getting your ass kicked. But long term, I'll cruise that thing all day.
One of my favorite moments with you was we built Scumbug. Vinny and I are driving it, where me and him are swapping back and forth, and we're going through like the San Felipe whoops, which I don't realize is like some of the more notorious whoops in the off-road community, right? And I get out and I say to you, what do we like? How can we adjust the car? Because like it doesn't really seem to be like, you know. And you said, I don't know, go 30 miles an hour slower. He's like, it's not. He's like, it's not a Can-Am because we were so used to driving UTVs. He's like, maybe you're just driving too fast through that because we just kept getting like rear bucked and like just like donkey fucked over them all. So yeah, it was. And then you were like, I don't know, maybe you're just driving too fast for what that thing is.
With the tire size, the suspension travel, the horsepower, like. You know, you need power to pull through stuff. And this thing's just kind of gutless. I think it had like an 1815 or maybe not even that in it. Just basic of basic with, you know, a good King adjustable reservoir bypass or shock. And you guys are trying to go 60 miles an hour through like trophy truck square edges and shit, just getting bucked sideways. And I was like, these guys are going to make me have to fix more of their bullshit. Because that's what I had to do a lot back then.
Yeah. Rewinding though, how did you get into all of this? Like obviously you came up on bikes, but like how did you move over to bugs and how'd that all start for you?
Just growing up racing dirt bikes and going to the desert. You know, everyone had Volkswagen buggies or sand rails and they're all colorful and bright and going to the river, hot rod jet boats, you know, just like being around, go fast, loud, fucking fun shit, you know? And couldn't take a chick on my dirt bike at night, so I needed a buggy. So, I bought a clapped out, broken sand rail that had a broken inner pivot with a shanty-ass shitty trailer for like $2,500. But a good motor and good shocks and decent enough and got me by for that season and chopped that thing up. But in like the metal fab and like off-road stuff and just mechanical stuff, mainly my dad, you know, the first thing me and him ever built out of metal was a shank, like piece of rebar because he ties steel and pools. So we sharpened and annealed and made a wooden handle, made a knife. That was the first thing I ever made out of metal at 7 years old. And then started building BMX ramps and a bunch of other stuff. And went to El Cajon ROP for welding after he already taught me how to like stick weld and MIG weld with our shitty equipment that he had just for dicking around in the garage. And at 15, went to Fabcom, started doing a bunch of welding and metal forming and punching out tabs, whatever they could after school and around the shit and just ask questions and went to PRD, Precision Race Development, at 17 and said, can I sweep your floors for free to learn? And he's like, sure. He's like, how long till you turn 18? I'm like, about 5 or 6 months. He's like, oh, you're not going to get hurt before then, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, then the day you turn 18, you need to go get your home-based mobile business license, call it mechanics or welding or whatever that might be. And then I'm going to 1099 your ass, but I'll pay you cash on the table until then, if you do a good job. So worked there for a week after school or whatever hours I had with going to Harvard on the Hill, aka Grossmont Community College.
Harvard on the Hill.
That's what we called it. And man, just after the first week, he's like, you did such a good job, I'm going to pay you for this week. I was like, sick. Hell yeah. I'm getting paid now and I'm around race cars, pre-runners, all that shebang at 17 and a half. Like, it was just an ultimate goal after doing my own thing with like super basics and watching whatever I could on YouTube or Race Desert, Desert Ranger forums, you know, just being super avid with that stuff, trying to sponge it all in. But now I got equipment to learn off of, someone to shadow around and ask questions and try not to be annoying, but soak it all in. And that's what really, ignited my progression.
Yeah.
And that's where I built the OG Bug. And then kind of just ran with it from there with whatever opportunity I had or places to migrate to and learn, you know. So after that, I went to Premier Motorsports Group, PMG, and I was a crew chief for short course. Ended up winning my first year with them the Mechanic of the Year award because I was working on like 5 different drivers' shit constantly, while I was also like teaching other people from being around it at PRD and doing a lot of prep and fab, like teaching other people the cars that would come in and take over on that car if they move places or people around. I kind of knew all the cars and like the little to-dos and to-don'ts and ways to set things up, or like the drivers like to be set up. So each driver got to pick a mechanic at the end of the year. And since we had 5 drivers, they all picked me because I was always keeping their shit running. So that was super cool. First year going into short course, winning an award and like just more motivation, you know? And that's where I finished the car, or actually made a lot of progress with the OG Bug. But I started out with that buggy that I center mounted, that Chenoweth that I bought, that was that piece of shit. And then I did a Toyota single cab pickup. And then I did what I called the Brown Bomber, which was a single cab Chevy Cat Eye. Or it was a old C10 that I put Cat Eye glass on, fiberwork glass, and I-beamed it, linked it, and 388 or 383 stroker on it. And she got down, but then I rolled it at Tough Trucks in Del Mar. Luckily, I had insurance on it, but I drove it there, kicked the windshield out after Tough Trucks, and drove it home with goggles that I had in it.
For the people who don't know what Tough Trucks is, please explain Tough Trucks, because it is one of the coolest things to watch.
It's a super small stadium with very aggressive features, jumps, bumps, whoops, and it's designed to kick the shit out of you and your vehicle and to actually slow you down so you don't go too fast. But we're idiots. We like to go fast. And of course I paid the price and rolled my shit box. It's and
very most of the trucks are like pretty basic builds too, right?
Yeah. Anything from mild to wild. You get some trophy trucks that come through, but a lot of them are hoopties that just are bouncing around. And mine was in the middle.
Right.
But
I've seen guys out there with just like blocks on leaf springs and just going for it, you know.
Straight up, dude. Yeah. It's a super good time. But yeah, that Chevy I rolled, kicked the windshield out, drove it home with goggles on, and said, you know what, this thing's too heavy. I want to go back to the buggy platform. So I got insurance, sold it to actually a dude that was into off-road that worked at the collision repair place. He's like, what are you going to do with this? You going to fix it or what? I'm like, I don't know, thinking about selling it. He bought it. So then that's the money that started the OG Bug. Mm. Yeah. So.
And what was it? I mean, was it just the lightweightness that attracted you to the Volkswagen side? Because I think like the thing with the bug world is like, there's a lot of Baja bugs out there, but there's only like, you built stuff that is on a whole different level.
Yeah.
And really pushed it. Like obviously Trophy Bug and things like that. Like you really committed to that model and to do that, where I think a lot of other people would have left and built a different truck, but you were like, no, I'm going to make this work and push it way beyond. And like, I love a Baja Bug, but what you create is something that's like really kind of another level. Like what made you fall in love with that so much?
The Volkswagen Bug is the most influential vehicle on the planet. Like, you know, with how old they are, the history of them, how many times they've changed hands. You know, when you see one, you can't misidentify it.
Yeah.
So like, and also when I was born, my mom had a Bug, and there was a picture of me and her on the fridge, but my grandma saw a Bug mangled on the side of the road from like a truck hitting it, and just was like, you know, if my grandsons and my daughter are going to be rolling around like this newborn, like we need to get him something a little safer. So she got her a minivan. And the minivan was cool because it was like a jungle gym. But that picture always on the fridge growing up always really resonated with me, you know, and it's just Cali vibes and the culture, and everybody seems super chill in it. So like that was kind of like where my direction was. Like I just felt like that was me. Yeah. You know?
Two things I want to pick up. One, the jungle gym of a minivan is so true that like this younger generation doesn't understand what we did in the back of minivans while our parents were driving. My parents took out the middle seat and would just let me play in the back of the car. Like we'd be driving for hours and I would just be like building Legos, like doing whatever on the floor, like no seatbelts, no nothing. It was just like a moving like playpen. It was like that part, like you can't do that anymore.
For sure.
It's just not the way it is. Well, I think one thing that's interesting on the Volkswagen stuff, like, you know, as someone who's not from California, and obviously I grew up around water-cooled VWs, but very different than air-cooled.
Yeah.
Like, it is such a part of culture here. And just the other day, Ashley and I, we were driving back in the neighborhood, and I see this Volkswagen bus drive by, and I said to her, I was like, that's got to be like the 9th VW bus that lives in our neighborhood. I was like, it's crazy. And she's like, is it? I'm like, I don't know. It just seems wild. And like, there's like 10 of those. There's like another 10 or 15 Vanagons in the neighborhood. Like, it's sort of crazy to see that, man. She's like, it's California. Like, that's just culture here. And like, it's, you know, she grew up in San Clemente. So it's like, for her, it's normal to see that. But it's like, it's crazy how much a part of like the Cali culture is that. And for you, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but like, you have an aesthetic. Right? Like obviously we used to call you Off-Road Spicoli. Like you have this thing, and the Bug fits that. Where like if you were in like a Chevy like trophy truck, I don't think it has that same vibe.
I feel that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And like it makes you want to root for it. I'm profiling you 100%. Yeah. So hey, we're gonna take a quick break and come right back. So Nick, you see I bought a new car.
I did, outside. Looks a little bit modern for you.
I was really trying to stay true and like just drive old cars and be in it. The AC died in the van. The RS2 is like a little problematic, and then I got a flat the other day. So yeah, I bought a new car.
New? It's 13 years old, dude.
Yeah, but like for me, it is definitely youngest by miles. It's got only 28,000 on the clock.
But it's you, so there's a catch. What's the catch?
Yeah, so I got it thinking this thing's gonna be perfect. There's nothing to fix. No reason to go to FCP Euro and order some parts. But I got inside and it smells like it has 100,000 hours of cigar smoke in it.
Rough.
So obviously it needs to go get detailed and cleaned. And if you know anything about doing this, if you don't replace your cabin air filter, it doesn't really matter because you blow all of that horrible smell back into the car. So I went to FCP Euro, got myself a new cabin air filter. And of course, on the way to the cart, like might have clicked in a few other liquid fluids. It was weird for me though. I got to admit, like I'm used to having this like really long, like multi-page cart of all the parts I need. Which reminds me of that other Audi that I bought a few months ago, which honestly needs all the parts. Maybe I should head back to FCP Euro and order some of those. So if you've got a thing for questionably reliable, old, or new cars, check out fcpeuro.com and they will keep your machine on the road. All right. So one thing I think that like I always found really interesting about you, and we've never had this conversation. We worked a bunch on different things, but like you live in this weird in between because you love fabricating, you love building stuff. That's a big part of what it is.
Yep.
You sort of build these vehicles that don't fit into any sort of like competition rule book. So they're really kind of, it's almost like freestyle off-road. Like you just literally build like, or like, you know, like the thing you want to build, right? And you sort of attain this like big name in off-road, but you're like, it's not like you're racing the Baja 1000. Like you've done it kind of your own way, right? And it's like 100%. It's almost, I mean, I say the word freestyle, but it's almost like, you know, in like snowboarding, you have like the free riders. Yep. It's like they just do what they want to do, right? And they just go and make cool stuff. And like you very much live in that space, but somehow end up getting the respect of the big boy racers. And then you also have like an entire audience that knows you and is not familiar with racing, because whether it's from Urban Assault or other things. Was that something for you that was like a decision that you're like, I just want to go do these things and do it my way and be different? Or was it something that just kind of happened?
definitely something that just kind of happened from the momentum of Urban Assault.
Okay.
You know, I mean, believe me, if I could afford to race back in the day, I would totally be racing. You know, growing up racing dirt bikes and then just yarding myself all the time, like, you know, I kind of lost that age to where I can continue to compete at like the level I wanted it to potentially make it a career out of. So like, you know, fabrication and still riding dirt bikes, but being able to build off-road toys for people and or construction or whatever I had to do to kind of elevate my fun having experiences, you know, and the goal was always to go racing, and like it still is, and we still are doing it from class 5 in Baja right now, class 1800 in the UTV Pro Open, in the Polaris Pro R. I've raced the TT Bug a couple times in trophy truck. I raced and won a few championships in class 11 and a lot of prestigious races in class 11. But I think back in the day, you know, Urban Assault definitely put a sour taste in like the hardcore racer's mouth.
But realize it still puts you, and I think the point I was trying to make here was that it put you on a prestige level.
Yeah.
In terms of being known with those guys, which is probably why they had the sour taste, right? Yeah. Because you were, you know, most guys who are in class 11 aren't getting talked about as much as you were getting talked about. Yeah. So like you found a way into that. And, you know, in a lot of ways that was similar to a lot of like what Ken was doing early on, was like we were out there racing in the WRC, but people were talking about Ken because of the Gymkhana films, and like
for sure
we understood the marketing value there. So did you understand that value when you had it?
Harvard on the Hill, Grossmont Community College. I took like several different like classes like anthropology, philosophy, psychology, business marketing 101, price, product, promotion, placement. The 4 Ps always was something that resonated with me. And it was like, well, I can't go race and I can't compete. Like, I don't have money to do that. Like, I want to build cool ass shit to where when people see it and see what we do with these vehicles, they can't forget it. And it's like, well, like, where do I need to place this thing in the market of like consumers, enthusiasts, and like attach an apparel company to it? Like, and a lot of that came from your guys' playbook. Like, you know, like imitation is the best, you know, form of flattery. And like what you guys were doing was fucking epic. I loved all that shit. And I was like, but I'm not really a car guy. I'm an off-road guy. How can I do that and talk to my people, you know, and motivate them, share like, you know, what I'm doing. Like, I don't got any secrets because I'm not racing. So like, it's like, hey, here's how you cycle the suspension, and, you know, here's proper up travel. Here's camber and caster you're looking for. Like, here's how you set up an IRS rear transmission setup. Here's how you build the class 11. So it was just constantly trying to like, I guess, gain respect, following, create new friendships, try new endeavors, and always push myself to be like, one, fulfilling my own like happiness and like challenges, but also sharing the ride with people. And I still do that to this day. And it's the most rewarding when you get kids that bring you drawings of your cars and like want to take pictures, or their dad's like, thanks for signing a poster, and it's up in their room. And it's like, that'll never get freaking old. But, you know, again, going back to like, how did I anticipate it? I didn't anticipate it to like, but I had to kind of adapt and roll with it and figure out ways how to like monetize it. Cause I was trying to do more events, more YouTube stuff. And like, I mean, I can edit videos, but not very good, you know, and it takes me a lot longer. And I had, you know, not only my fab shit, I was doing construction and doing as much as I could to like keep going on these trips and create all this stuff. But, yeah, man, it was just nonstop grind of, you know, what's next and trying to delegate all that stuff and put it all together to where, when I was building the second car after Urban Assault and people saw that, PRP's like, let's throw some seats in there. HP's tuner is like, what ECU you got in there? I'm like, it's just a factory GM ECU. They're like, let's tune it. We'll sponsor you. And it like, kind of like, I didn't really pitch it to a lot of people, but, you know, the few people that like wanted to support it, I was like, okay, sick. Like, this is rad. And it just kind of all started to snowball together and just riding the wave. And after getting parts or support, you know, they wanted title sponsorship. How much is that going to cost? I'm like, 10, like, give you 15. How about that? And I was like, just keep making videos and doing cool shit. Use that towards your media and you'll get other sponsors. And that was a gentleman, Andrew at HP Tuners, that kind of coached me through it and said, get a few people to sponsor you with a couple grand a year. That's a trip and an edit. You get 10 of those and that's 20 grand, just lay out your deliverables and, live up to that and grow. And as the shit grows, just keep climbing the ladder. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go.
When you were doing stuff as a fabricator, it sounds like that's something you really, and I've worked with you on stuff. I know it's something you've really grown to love. Do you, for you, if you had to rank it from the making content, because I see you as a content creator because you've made some really cool stuff. So I think it's a big part of your story, right? Obviously as a driver, I've seen you rip. I know you can do that. But as a what is that? Where does that mix work for you? What do you see yourself as first? Are you a driver first, a fabricator second? How do you see that?
I think they're all coexist. Right now that everything's built and I'm maintaining, I'm building another 6-foot little mini death boat that I was thrashing on before I came here. My alarm went off and I was like, shit, because you get in the zone where you want to fab, but then the weekend I was racing and turning wrenches and just dialing my class 11 in. Content, you're at damn near every event, you're creating content too. So I think it's, I have a really good blend of all three, but it started with the fabrication for sure. And then it, with the fabrication and getting toys, it's driver. And then the content came last, but the content is, something that keeps the wheels turning. If I had these badass machines that I built and didn't really post much about them, I think partners and people would be less interested or less inclined to watch your story posts or maybe put you on a notifications thing. So I think it's a consistency of doing all three very repetitive.
Yeah. Because I know you sold the first bug. I'm assuming, have you built other bugs for people? Is that because I would imagine a lot of people must come to you and be like, I want my own Megalodon. I want my own trophy bug.
After that, yeah, there was an influx, but I was, again, still doing the construction thing where I'm making $65 an hour PW plus retirement, health insurance, and something that I didn't have for a long time, which was sketch.
Yeah.
So I've taken on tons of different jobs, not really full builds. I've modified a lot of people's stuff to make it better. Because a full build takes so much time, and to do it right, it's so extensively costly. And then also that car's in that spot for so long. Someone might run out of money, I can't float someone a bunch of extra parts and I need to get paid on the weekly. So and I just seen people and other fabricators struggle with things like that and finding the right clientele to do shit the right way with all the right parts, not skip corners. But I've done a big array of stuff, I would say, but mainly it's been additions. And then I have a bunch of friends that are in construction and they would throw me a lot of construction work. I've done everything.
Fab work around that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for we've custom made electrical boxes, valve covers for those green little covers for the valves on the sides of the streets.
Yeah. For the irrigation and water setup. And stuff like that,
to dog kennel lids for when they feed the canines at the police station. It's been such a wide array. The fabrication stuff, it can be frustrating at times. Because shit might not work out, and I've lost my ass on a lot of jobs because it's damn, I quoted this dude $8,500 for this, but I should have probably charged him 12. Or I scuffed this shock shaft or something, with tool or grinder or something, just kind of letting things get away from you because it happens, and it's damn, there goes an $1,800 shock. So I was very methodical and strategic with the workload that I would take on, for sure. But we did build a second TT bug.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, for my buddy Jesse. That became a friend, actually a friend of a friend. He's taken it out and played with it. He's not super socially active. Just kind of a low key dude that just had the money.
Fun. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. Like, you're building one of those. I've seen your other builds. Build me one. I'm like, it's going to be around 300 grand, dude. Like, he's like, I'll pull up with 100 grand next week. It pulls up with 100 grand cash. And I'm like, okay, like, perfect timing, because we're about to cut the first one out. And like, that's something that really helped me build my TT Bug. Because like, building mine, you know, I did have a lot of help from partners. And if I'd get a free set and be able to get another set, or, you know, buy one, get one free, or 30% off, like if I bought 2 sets or 40% off, I'd be like, look, dude, I'm going to break you off like 20% saving or 10% savings on this item, but it's going to drive my price down lower for my costs on my stuff. And that's how it was tangible for me to build something of this caliber. And, shit, dude, racing and building shit and keeping, you know, Shreddy, the apparel company, going together. I'm pulled in a million different directions, and I love it because, like, I feel like when I have a down week and it's like there's not really much going on, I'm just dicking off, riding my pit bike in the front yard a bunch, or depending on the time of the year, and kind of like I'll try and go do things with friends, but like I feel like unless I'm under pressure and like have a gnarly schedule in the shop doing what I love, like, I'm just bored and I feel like I don't have purpose.
I've always been impressed at the amount of stuff you do. Cause like, you know, I did a lot, but I did it with a team, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really seem like you've got people that help you, I assume.
For sure.
But you don't have a massive team.
Nope. In the shop, it's, you know, Poppy, he saved our ass in Baja when I actually met them with you guys in the Scumbug chasing the 1,000. I think it was a BJ. Kevin, who, you know, engineered and designed the whole TT Bug out of our shop, in-house where we built it. You know, these are just all part-time dudes, like homies that'll pull up, and if I'm, you know, under the pressure, they're like, yo, you need any help? And depending on their level of, you know, skill sets and level of like comfort with me letting them touch whatever that might be at that time, they're just kind of like the homies that come through and help out with that stuff. On the shop side of things, Aaron, my partner with Shreddy, he freaking is a huge backbone, and Kenny and Dave and Ryan, you know, those are other people that help out with that. But
and Shreddy looks like it's doing really well. Like, I see it a lot, especially like when I go down to the farm and I'm in like North County.
Yeah.
Like, I see, actually the other day I was out near the Salton Sea.
Yep.
And there's like a shop, like I don't even know if it's a shop or what it is, and there's just like a huge Shreddy sign. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I'm not sure if it's a shop or what it is, but it's like you pull off whatever the road is on the west side of the sea, and there's like just a big Shreddy logo on the side. It was like, oh, it's cool to see it out there. So
yeah,
but like I see it everywhere now. So.
It's a revolving door, you know, with apparel, dude. It's like you get new designs, you have to buy like 6-7 sizes to fit one body. Yeah. So like, you know, we're trying to do some more universal fits all type things. You know, like we take pride in our hats and all of our gear and whatnot. But yeah, dude, I explain to people, like, it's like you have a lake full of money. That lake dries up when you throw it into a cloud, which is inventory, and then has to trickle back in to fill the lake up. But usually the lake doesn't fill up enough to fucking throw back in the atmosphere. to keep the trickle effect coming back. But it's definitely a struggle, but we got a lot of people that support it, rep it.
What was your like aesthetic design for Shreddy? Because I think it's a brand that really kind of stands out to me in automotive. Like, it doesn't, like, when I look at it, it doesn't instantly feel like an automotive brand, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But has like a, you know, it has clear origins. Like, what is it for you that like kind of was the background, or like brands that inspired that?
I would say the brand that inspired that was like Nef.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it was loud and colorful.
And real party vibes. Yeah.
And like 80s retro-y kind of vibe. Because like, you know, again, going back to the hot rod jet boats and at the river and then the buggies, they were all colorful. They were loud. People were proud. Like, you'd have big buff fucking steroided out tan dude with a pink and purple boat with a super badass chick with big old fake tits. I'm like, I want to be that guy. Like, so that's kind of also like why my colors and stuff, I like them loud because they stand out and they're freaking hot.
Yeah.
But the term shred is like, Shreddy is shred ready, and growing up surfing, skating, motoing, snowboarding, freaking off-roading, like everyone kind of like shred, dude, shred the NORRA. Like shred was like associated with whatever demographic of action sports that was.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me because I definitely saw it. It always, like when I first started seeing your designs, it felt like a surf brand for car guys. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it blended those two sides. Like you want that like fun color and style and like don't take ourselves seriously at all vibe that you see in a lot of like 80s and like 90s surf stuff. But then it had this like Motorhead vibe to it, which was like completely different. And like weirdly enough, like I don't think those things have really crossed over much. Like I grew up riding BMX and you saw that vibe and that style in like the 80s and 90s.
For
like,
sure.
Neon, like my first bike was a neon yellow dyno VFR, it was like, and I think I put like pink pads on it that were like checkered, right? Because like that was such an inspiration of what style was coming out of California at the time. And like that brand, I think when you guys came out, like it felt very unique because everyone else was like kind of doing something. Like Hoonigan had a very punk rock, like its early inspiration was very punk rock, tough, like single colors. Like most of our shirts were like black with white letters, right?
Yep.
We did have a party vibe phase for a while, and it's actually funny because we were doing it like because actually brands like Nef and Party Shades and like all that kind of stuff in that era like was like had the bright colors, and we were making purple shirts and whatever. But you guys have taken that and really owned like that look and style, so it's definitely rad.
Loud colors, loud toys, fucking shred everything.
What's next for you in terms of like builds or anything? You got anything new you working on at the moment or what?
I've been all over the place, man. I've been trying to think of like if I should build a 6100. I got Kevin wanting to build a second TT Bug that we put a 6100 motor in, go race 6100 spec. I know.
So could you race 6100 with the Bug?
Yeah, I raced it in trophy truck, but it has a supercharger, big Magnuson blower on there. So it's like keeping everything cool and getting high RPMs and the torque it puts out. It's kind of hard on like everything's not really matched for like those big, hard, long races. Whereas like a 6100 platform, if I put a 6100 motor in there now, it'd freaking live and finish races more than likely because it's way less hard on drivetrain components. You don't have as much horsepower to keep cool.
Would that be a mid-engine setup for the car then, or would you
front engine?
It would be front engine. So you'd run a Bug body, but it would basically be a classic 6100.
As long as it's a sedan with closed wheel wells. That's why like the fenders on the TT Bug are so massive and big because you're supposed to have closed off wheel wells.
Got it.
So like we designed that body to play within that in that rule book.
Yep.
So that's why we're able to race it in trophy truck. But yeah, it just sucks when you spend all that money and you go break something. So
that's racing.
I'm like, you know what? Like but originally the reason why I started the Class 11 was because I wanted to go from the bottom and speak to like the people and resonate at like the grassroots level while we were building the TT Bug at the top tier level. So it was like cool, it was like, hey, we built this, we're going racing, and we kind of helped revitalize that class. A lot of people tell me that, and it's so much fun, and I totally support that. But it's like the class has always been cool, but now last year at Rage of the River there's 52 entries,
which I saw a shot from that. It was just insane to see all the cars starting. But for those who are listening who are like from performance car side, don't know much about off-road, explain what Class 11 is to everybody, because I think this is one of those bucket lists you must do at one point in your life. Like
stock bug.
It's a stock bug.
Stock
By the way, for those
bug.
Listening on audio, he's doing air quotes.
So it's you take a bug, preferably the IRS rear suspension and ball joint front end, which is 69 to 72, and you can turn the front beam. You have to run stock drums, stock spindles, stock front arms, stock steering, stock rear arms that you can box. You can cut a little bit out of them to cycle a bigger shock in the rear. The rear shock has to be 18 inches eye to eye, but people are welding them off the side of the shock body. So eye to eye is still under 18 inches.
Okay.
Gray areas.
Yeah. But that's racing. It's finding loopholes in the rule book. Yeah.
Stock transmission, but you can put like a super diff in them. So but stock gear ratio in the transmission, 1600cc motor.
So you have to use the stock trans from that era. You can't use like a bus trans.
Can't use a bus box.
Okay.
Type 1. And then a 1600cc motor. Low comp, run 8.5 or less compression. High comp, 8.5 above.
Mm-hmm.
But the carburetor difference, you get a dual barrel carburetor with the low comp.
They run like a 3236 or something like that.
I run the Weber 44.
Oh, okay.
Or no, fuck, I don't remember. But you have to also choke down the
restrictor plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. The Venturi inside of it. But yeah, we played with a ton of that shit and geek out on that till like you find half a horsepower here or there, all different directions. It all adds up.
Yeah.
So like Tim Sledden's really done a really good job, but those are like the most fun.
I think you guys were doing some races with was it with Nitro Cross? Was it? That looked insane.
Yeah, the blocks played around with that
looked
too.
Like so much fun.
That's usually the crowd favorite. You know, these electric cars were fast and like, you know, they're fast, they're gnarly, they're aggressive, they're making some contact, but when you're seeing these bugs make contact going half the speeds and just battling, and they'd always invert the start, so you want to go for points for qualifying, but then also points in the race. So like, you know, and they had really good paired up drivers at each one of those. So super sick.
And good
battles.
sized fields too. Like there's a lot of cars on.
I think they kept it to 12.
Oh, was it? Okay. It's still
10 to 12.
Seemed like a lot because the cars are so balanced, everybody's on each other.
Yeah.
So it feels real door to door.
The whole time.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done the 1011?
I have not. Or the NORRA 1000.
You did the NORRA. Okay.
That was a 6-day rally race.
I want to do the NORRA.
Sick.
Tell me about it.
The best race.
Okay.
The best race. Like, hands
you could
down.
have a bad day and still race again tomorrow. Where at the 1000 you could break in the first 5 miles and be done.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me about the NORRA. What's it like?
6 days from Ensenada all the way to Cabo. Each day they stop in like the most iconic locations, but they also have time zones. So like say, okay, this stage is 240 miles. Mm-hmm. They'll make it to where there's like the furthest you usually have to go is like, I think the furthest stage is like 140 miles before there's like basically like a check-in, check-out time to where you get in that stage of each day, you get a buffer to put gas in it, get out, take a piss, have a snack, talk with the team about logistics, where you're at, timing, and kind of enjoy yourself. So it's not like you have to have a big team. Like when we did it with my truck and my trailer with a team of 3 people in the pit truck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And me and a co-driver the whole way down. And you're greeted with beers at the finish line. Like they cater for you. You can get them to do all the hotel logistics. So you can make it pretty damn easy with a super small crew and just soak it all in. But obviously you want to finish each stage and like each day. But if you do have a bad day, like last year, we did it again this year in 6100 with my boy Adam Fitza. And basically like they had another person that was on the XComp team too. And he blew a motor. And they found bought a motor out of a dude's Jeep in I forget which town it was, but they asked around like if anybody had a motor, and this dude pulled one out of his Jeep. And they put it in his class 8 truck, and they freaking kept going. Just an LS based freaking 350 Chevy motor. But it's just the vibe, you know, you got all the old school dudes too, and they have like vintage classes. Like if you don't want to race and you got like, I don't know, say a Ford Raptor, you can go do the safari class and see all these missions and like stop on the beach for photo ops. It's kind of like a guided tour, and they have people that'll do sweep to like pull you out of there at the end of the day too. So it's like, you don't essentially even have to have a chase team. You know, if it's something that's semi-capable, like you can make it through anything. I did it with Myers Makes in a freaking like street cruiser Manx, beat the hell out of myself. And my co-dog, who actually helped with Urban Assault 3, but he set that up with Manx, and that was a blast. Like getting to see the first time I ever got to race NORRA and do NORRA, we did the safari class, got to see all these sick missions, these like just views, and really soak it all in. Like that's what the Safari Baja is sick about. But you meet up in town with the racers, and usually they have a very similar race course or something very different, like to where like some of the race course, because you start after the racers. So like some of the course, and then sometimes they'll veer off into a couple of different towns and stay, and then come back and merge in to where like even if you're not a racer and you want to go just explore and do some safari type shit, you get to meet up with the racers, see the race cars, talk about it, you know, whatever. And everyone's just so friendly. It's the happiest race on the planet.
Everyone like stays in the same group every night too, right? Over the 6 days. So like everyone's in the same area.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like say you're in La Paz.
Yep.
Like everyone's pretty much within that region of La Paz. Like, so like after hours, if there's, you know, a few bars, you walk into a bar, because they'll feed you too. They give you beers and dinner at each stage. That's part of the entry, which is awesome. So it's like one less thing you and the team got to worry about. You pull up, eat, go back to the hotel if you got to work on the car, or hang out, or go to a couple bars with, you know, fellow racers or enthusiasts. So it's cool. It's something I highly recommend.
Well, because, you know, with the Scumbug project, which for those who are listening might not know, Blake came in to take it from the original version, which was an old Baja bug we found that was barely held together.
Scummy.
Yeah.
Very scummy.
The early scum version of it to like a class 5-ish, right? It was class 5-ish, was you kind of say?
More 1600 probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ish with a cheater motor in it. And we went down, and the goal was that we were going to go basically pre-run the 1,000. We pre-ran a decent piece of it, but then I think we got to the point where like, okay, we're actually on race course now. We have to get off and like let the actual racers pass us and catch up. And the original intention was that we wanted to go race the Baja. And I think that year made us realize that we just didn't have the budget or the crew to actually go race Baja. And everybody we ran into was like, go race the NORRA.
Yeah.
Because the NORRA is actually way better for filming. Because not only from a perspective of a race team, like we would need, you know, a minimal of like another 4 or 5 support trucks, but we would also need media trucks to support all of that, to tell the story. And it's like you're constantly moving and not being able to keep up. And so many people were like, just go do the NORRA. Like it's 100%. Actually more fun, and like it's way better for content. And like, sure, it's not like the Baja 1000, but it has like a different vibe. And everyone was like, it just suits Hoonigan more. Yeah. So that was always the goal, you know. And then the pandemic happened and we never did it. But like, but speaking of Scumbug, I've seen the videos of that you've actually turned that thing into like a monster now. So
it's way better.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I wanted to turn it into like a legit class 5 car, but that's a little bit more budget than what we had to work with. So they're like, I was like, you know, like, and if they did want to turn it into a class 5 car, I'm like, we need to just start completely over, and just if you guys want, like, we could cut the shell off, and that's all I got to start with.
Yeah.
Because everything else is not race car spec worthy. So I'm like, but
you're saying Brad didn't build a race car.
he wasn't given, I feel like,
we did it on a scrappy budget and got it done in like a few weeks. And a classic Hoonigan job. So.
Pretty standard. Yeah.
It was fun though.
No, yeah, it still is fun. And now it's just like a fun having car that's a lot more capable.
Yeah. I watched the video of you and Zach looked properly scared, which is like not easy to get Zach scared. Yeah, he came on this pod and was just like, dude, you don't understand, it's fucking sick.
yeah, dude. So, it boogies, but it's another bug in the arsenal.
Yeah, I it's something that I'll eventually have in my fleet is a good bug, because the Scumbug, like when I left Hoonigan, it was like the one car that was like hard to say. It was that and the Donk were the 2 cars that were hard to say goodbye to, and the Rolls Royce. I guess those were probably my 3 favorite. But the Bug, like during all of pandemic, like I kept that as a daily.
Yeah.
Because like anytime I had to go anywhere in Long Beach, I would just rip the Bug. And we have like what
That's
we call it the Compton motocross track, which is basically just a dirt field that kids build jumps in. And I would just get bored and like go jump in the Bug and rip down to the Compton motocross track and go rip that around. And then all my neighbors would be like, I heard someone was down there ripping things up. I'm calling the police. I'm like, wasn't me.
They couldn't see a bright ass orange
You
bug.
can't really
ripping.
see it from where we are. You can only hear it. So they don't actually know what's happening. They just hear it echoing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't know. That thing I love. Like I have all these photos of like my son at the time he was like 8 months old with like that in the background, like on the front, like, you know, parked in front of the house on the lawn.
That's sick.
And it's like that car to me was just super cool. So I was stoked to see it like not get mothballed and have you guys actually do something with it. So
I'm pumped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pumped for it.
No, that was a good one. Because I think we fixed it and got it back out for this versus that off road.
Yeah.
And that was because like had been because we you know, I don't know if you know this, but we rented it to a video, like they were doing a music video, and we had no information about this music video, but these people reached out to us. Again, it was like pandemic, and it was like, hey, like we need a Baja Bug for a music video, and they were gonna give us like $1,500 or something, and we were like, all right, sure, like we have one. And they blew the motor in it, right?
Oh,
so that's what happened to it. And we had like no idea. It was like a guy who worked on the Gymkhana sets who was like, hey, can I borrow this? He was like an art director. And he later on sends me the video, and it's like this famous, like, you know, Spanish musician named Karol G. And the video went on to do like 20 million views.
And Scumbug was in it?
Scumbug's, it's not only Scumbug in it, she's driving Scumbug.
What?
So Scumbug is like...
She blew the motor?
So yeah, she apparently blew the motor. But the funny thing to me is like, there's like probably a community of people who have no idea who we are or whatever, but like know that car because they love Karol G.
Yeah.
And like we're just so unaware of it because like it didn't happen inside of our bubble. So
That's
you know,
awesome.
Scumbug out there.
I'm going to have to look up Karol G.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you the link.
Send me the link. I want to see the video of the scum ripping.
Yeah. So have you done much stuff outside of off-road, or are you just living in off-road? Like, have you gotten to jump around, do some drift car stuff or anything else? Or
I did one time with the Sorensens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like before when they were young, dude.
Yeah.
Like Randy Sorensen, their dad invited me out to Vegas and to drive one of their stock Beamers that just was caged and shit. And I was able to sync up a couple laps pretty decent, but initially Amanda Sorensen, when she was showing me around and like the fundamentals and talking to us through the rugged radio comms and stuff, she tried to show off a little bit. She backed it into a tire wall, kind of, you know, just alleviated the bumper since all the shit's zip tied anyways. These kids are just hard on shit. So they let me take it for a spin, and I definitely ended up spitting some gravel onto the track a few times, but it's something I'd like to get into for sure.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to like Matt Fields and a couple of the boys for like some pointers on maybe a platform, or maybe taking components from a platform and scalping something together myself with maybe a bug body on it or something.
This is why I asked, because I saw there's a video, and I'll send it to you, of a bug, and it's still like rear engine out drifting, and it looks so cool. Like I wouldn't think it would look cool, because like, I don't know, it just doesn't fit the drift sort of box that I think drifting fits in. But I saw this and I was like, damn, that's actually like pretty cool. And I don't know how he's making a rear engine car sort of slide and control that well. I don't know how much power he's got, but yeah.
Probably all of it.
Yeah, probably all of it. Yeah. So, but I also think there's like, I mean, I've watched a lot of people like, you know, everything from Darren Parsons to BJ jump into sliding cars. And it's kind of amazing how quickly the skill set transfers.
Yeah.
Like how quickly someone can take ripping off-road vehicles and getting into a drift car. And it's like, yeah, this makes perfect sense, because it's basically the same thing, right? It's like sliding, like that part of the driving kind of transfers. So I was just curious if like you had gotten to like do any stuff with Micah or anyone else while you were doing Hoonigan stuff or no.
Yeah, I mean, with my schedule, dude, I have like 38 events or appearances or whatever, like last year, and probably something similar this year. So like it just, and I have so many toys now or assets that I have to continuously, religiously maintain. I told myself, until I sell one of those, you're not getting a drift car, because otherwise it's like you won't have time to keep fixing all your busted ass shit. So like,
I should take that for myself, but I don't.
yeah, I've seen.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and then I want to actually get into one of your toys. That's probably my favorite toy of yours. Heatwave makes some great shades. The Skynet, the Wraith, and my personal favorite, the Vice. But did you know they also make goggles? The MXG 250 is for you motocross, UTV, and dirt sport folks. It features an anti-fog coated, impact-resistant lens and patented ramjet tech to keep the moisture under control for all of you brow sweaters. Plus, it's got a triple post tariff system. Now, if you're thinking, I only enjoy paved motoring, that's okay. Go full goon style. Rock a set with an open face so that you can cosplay that you're a 70s badass. Works for Travis Pastrana and Matt Field. Find yours at heatwavevisual.com. Have you ever questioned why only sockets are privileged enough to get asked to dance by the breaker bar? I mean, seriously, so many other tools could benefit from part snapping leverage. Our favorite German tool company, Wera, has solved this conundrum with their new X-Power actuator. What is it, you ask? It's basically a long bar that accepts a ton of different inserts, which range from the Joker self-adjusting wrenches to ratchets, bit drivers, and even a weldable blank insert. You know, so you can make your own unholy creation. Ultimate fan clutch tool, anyone? See all the batshit things they make for this wild mechanical implement at weratools.com. If you're into older analog cars like me, then you might not know that these days the suspension actually talks to a computer. But KW knows and has sorted Porsche 997 and 991 owners with their new DDC plug-and-play coilover system, which integrates seamlessly with Porsche's active suspension management, aka PASM. Historically, installing aftermarket coilovers meant you lost the ability to toggle between suspension modes, rendering that switch on the dash useless. With KW's new system, you get to have your cake and eat it too. Factory controls and a 911 that rides on rails. Find yours at kwsuspensions.com. All right, so I think my favorite vehicle of yours is the Death Boat.
Sketchy.
Yeah. And I had no idea those things existed before you. Like, and now they're like, I want to say like they're almost trending in the YouTube space. It seems like everybody has a Jetstream boat. I have one, which I don't know if you know. You remember?
Really?
Yeah, I got one, and I never built it at Hoonigan. I still owe finishing it, so maybe you and I can finish that one at some day.
They're a lot of freaking work.
I know.
I got homies, and I can help with what I can.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be a project, and ended up never getting there. But to me, I remember when you built that thing, I was like, and I'm not like a boat guy. Like, I didn't grow up around boating. I grew up in New York City. I never wanted a boat. And that video and that just the struck, like just the way it looks with the roll cage and everything, I was like, fuck, I want a boat.
Yep. Price, product, promotion, placement.
You know, like that was a
that
seller
shit
for that thing, 100%. Because I was like, I didn't know you could do that in boats. Like, I didn't know.
Jump shit.
Yeah, because it was like a jet ski, but for two people, but
Side
looked cooler.
side, yeah.
But looked cooler. Like, I think a jet boat looks way cooler than a jet ski. Like,
I mean,
no knocks on jet skis. Jet skis are the most fun in the world, but they don't look as badass as like a jet boat does.
I mean, put it this way. If me and you are riding front to back on a jet ski,
yeah, that doesn't look cool at all.
versus side by side in a mini boat,
yeah, nuts to butts on a jet ski ain't the move for you and I, especially if I'm on the back.
Definitely not the
wrapped
move
around you, just a little cuddle. You know, it's just wherever I'm in the passenger seat of the death boat, it looks pretty cool. You know,
casual,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I was aware of like New Zealand jet boat racing, which obviously is similar. But I didn't know about sort of these like smaller, short, like river boats. How did you discover them?
I saw them like on YouTube or somewhere. Somehow I came across them. I'm like, no one in SoCal's got one of these. Mm-hmm. These are like the side by sides for the water, you know? And it's like, okay, I can go race a TT bug again and do a full prep and all this and then maybe break, or like for the same amount of money, I can build this little freaking boat that I can go jump and do something that no one's really done in this space yet. And I wanted to make sure that it was something that was super legitimate, like legit.
Yeah.
Like, so like when we did the aluminum interior to look very off-road car-ish. It's not like your standard dash that comes with the kit. You know, the roll cage, I didn't get like their front windshield. They have a couple of different options. I built my own like roll cage and did all the framework for the window frame and like the roof and the paneling and the little shark fins to match the buggy. And then we built a trailer that's long travel trailer. So it has independent rear
Which
suspension.
was one of the coolest looking things because you had that behind Megalodon, right? So you had like the matching trailer with the long travel suspension. That was just like such a cool way to introduce that. So
Havasu Assault, that Heatwave visual was put on. That led the production charge on that. So like that was sick. Like I've had homies in the boat after pulling it off of the trailer, like or whatever. Like I'm just gonna chill in the boat. You know, they're a little buzz up because they ain't driving.
Yeah.
Like I want to feel the suspension, and I'll have it behind like my Polaris Razor or like the buggy, and because it's like super cool, friggin' launching the boat with the LS supercharged V8 buggy. Like people are like, what the fuck is that? Like that whole combination just doesn't make sense.
Also, it's a boat with a roll cage. Like, I just want to say this out loud. A boat that requires a roll cage says a lot about what you're about to do with the boat. Like, most people don't think boating requires a cage. But
I haven't had to use it yet.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of close times.
I've seen videos, though, of people, like, you know, jumping sandbars and like, you know, jumping little spits and like rolling out. So it's like, there's a need for it. And especially in jet ski, like in jet boat racing in New Zealand, they roll into the dirt all the time.
Yeah. So like if it doesn't have the harness on, we're not going across really like land or like fat jumps. But if I do some super sketchy shit, I should probably put harnesses on.
How does it, actually, before I even ask this question, how much boating experience did you have before this? Like, had you been out in a lot of fast boats?
Dude, yeah. I got pictures of me as like 5 years old holding the steering wheel where like homies leaned backwards. My mom's boyfriend at the time, whatever dude that was like, let me drive the boat. And I'm just like, got this little curly mullet flowing. And I'm just like, yeah, dude. So like, again, growing up, like, from stand-ups and like sliding stand-up skis around growing up and jumping the ocean side and all that shit. Like pretty well versed.
Yeah.
You know?
But you built that thing more like a car than you did a boat, right? Like, cause you've got, meaning like you have a gas pedal, right? Like you don't have a throttle, you don't have like a throttle, right? Like it's like, it's built more like you would a car for that purpose, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those boats, they're not doing like a traditional boat throttle. They're doing either like a handlebar brake lever trigger pull, like on stand-up jet ski or whatnot. And I just wanted to do it different because I want to put one of my like Collab Shreddy steering wheels in it for like branding and having that just be a cool thing. And it's great for cruising, you know, because like you just sit there and whatnot, like, but it's not a cruiser,
right?
You know, it's like, when we drive this thing, we get aggressive with it.
Yeah.
Like I've only taken it on a few trips where we ain't jumping shit. Well, actually, no, I haven't. But you know, when you're going through choppy shit, like in Mini Boat Mafia, so if people want to like look up some of the gnarly shit we've done in like the Salmon and Snake River, the gas pedal is kind of harder to control because you're bouncing around and like your hands are on a fixed object where your foot's kind of bouncing around as well. So like it's kind of almost got me in some sticky situations. So.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if you were to do it again, maybe you do a steering wheel mount.
I am doing it. You know, I'm doing it with a 6-foot boat now.
A 6-foot boat.
Yeah.
That's tiny.
I got some big plans. It's a single seater.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully I can pull off what I'm envisioning.
Is it another one from Jetstream or a different boat?
This is a Sitka boat.
Okay.
They hit me up and they're like, you want a hole? And I'm like, I looked and kind of compared the two, and I think the 6-footer is a little bit better hull than the Jetstream just because of some of the features that it possesses. And yeah, I mean, I kind of felt bad though because Jetstream's like, you should have hit us up. We would have gave you a hole. And I'm like, well, I didn't really want a hole until like this one showed up. So like, you know, I guess I got to friggin' build it now. But
your current boat is a 12 or
10?
10. It's 10, yeah.
So I did a lot of like custom shit with it and added weight, which with like big Rockford Fosgate stereo system and shit and like all the off-road influence stuff that I put on it. So like I actually had to make trim tabs on the back to make it act as like a longer boat. So it's almost like extending the wheelbase on a car.
Yep.
You know? But yeah, boats are fucking badass. They're so fun.
Yeah. Again, like I said, you got that thing, and I was praising. I'm like, this looks like the coolest thing ever. And I spoke to the jet stream guys. I'm like, let's go build one. I was like, I do not have time to build one. Yeah. And they're like, well, you'll figure it out. And then ended up getting one. But
no,
and then Travis, me and Travis both got one. And then Travis Pastrana went and did that crazy loop-de-loop with that one. Did you see that?
Yes, it was sick, dude. I mean, it was. I haven't seen them really jump it. They did jump it. They jumped into the airbag too.
Yeah, they jumped into the airbag.
Yeah, that was sick.
Which is kind of nuts.
I want to go to Pastranaland.
Yeah,
Travis, what's up, dude?
You would probably do really well there. I think you'd enjoy that.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fun.
Let me know when you go next.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. The funny thing about Travis, I don't know if it's as much of a thing anymore, but it used to be that like once you showed up there, if you'd never been there before, like you immediately have to do something.
Yeah, I'm down.
So, Ken Block had this story of like the first time he showed up there, like Travis met him at the top of the hill and was like, all right, here's a 90, you just got to get on it and you got to backflip into the thing. And Ken's like, I don't even know what the jump is. He's like, you'll find it. Like it was like, something like that. And I ended up going there for like when we were scouting to make the first Gymkhana film with him. And they had that slip and slide, it's not even a slip and slide. It's a drainage pipe that they cut in half that like goes down this crazy hill in the back.
People flop
but realized it was wintertime. So like there was no, like they usually had like the wet landing and everything out in the back and the bag. It just was out to concrete. And he was like, all right, go ahead. And I'm like, okay. And they just gave me like a sled, like a saucer, like the round circle one. And it
must have been a big saucer.
The edges of the drainage pipe were all sharp, and it just like annihilated my jacket. Like I had a puffy jacket, and it just tore it all to pieces. And then like I didn't realize I was gonna get sent out onto concrete, and just like bounced down the concrete. And I stood up, and he was like, "Cool, all right, I'm gonna take the stairs." I'm like, "Wait, you're not doing?" He's like, "I'm not doing that. That's just dumb." But yeah, and now they've got this incredible just massive trampoline. They have this massive like gymnast level trampoline, and we were there last like December or whatever. I was there with Gary, and like my knee was bad, so I was like, I'm not even getting out there. And I watched Gary just get worked like left and right. Like if you've been on trampolines before, it's like you can get seriously worked on.
Those dudes are going like it looks like 30 feet in the air.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And his daughter and stuff. Like kudos.
Did you see that one he did with his daughter? It's nuts how high she went.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
I don't want to tramp that.
Yeah. I know. I saw that and I thought to myself, like,
not that level.
Following in the parents' footsteps. That's sick. Yeah.
Mandatory.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the one fun part about having kids is like, I got my little dude, like a electric quad, but it's basically like a little 50 or like a little 70. And, Ashley was like, you can't, don't teach him how to do things. Like he's just a little boy. He's gonna learn. He's not fucking Travis Pastrana. Like, don't fucking have him doing crazy shit. Like, I don't want to teach don't show him how to do things. Like, if he learns on his own, that's fine. But like, I don't want you teaching him wheelies. Like, I'm like, all right. And he had it for like 6 months, and he calls us down. And he's like, hey, he's like, I learned how to do burnouts. He's like 5 at this point. And he's like, okay. And like, I'm figuring like he's just like putting it up against the wall and letting the wheels spin. Nah, he's like doing full on donuts and figure 8 slides. And I was like, and she's like, what? I'm like, what? I didn't do anything. She's like, you show him all those recoil and Gymkhana films. Like, of course he knows what this is. And I was like, yeah, okay. But now he loves it. So we just built a little pump track at the farm. So I built a pump track for me to ride BMX, but he just rips it on the quad. So he's got like a cool berm he rips.
Is he going to get a dirt bike?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. Me and Ashley kind of want to move him more into like something with a cage just for trophy obvious reasons. Something like a trophy car or something like that.
One of the Polaris.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's so hard not to ride dirt bikes, I feel like, in Southern California. But
yeah. I mean, do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I like 4 wheels, but we're very much like letting him choose his own path with all of that.
He'll learn so much about just handling characteristics, and if you become one with like a dirt bike, I think something that helps me with 4 wheels is, steering with the rear tire, braking, brake biasing, weight transfer, suspension setup, just everything that a dirt bike has to offer when you're like man and machine. Because it's like you go down on a dirt bike, you're getting hurt.
Yeah.
And you pay the price. So you learn how to not do that again, or like, just understand it, and it all transfers over into off-road, especially very drastically.
I mean, because Ken always used to say that the thing that he felt gave him the one up in rally racing was that he had spent his childhood riding dirt bikes. So it's like, he's like, that instantly transferred for him. One, just like how it felt to be on loose surface and like how to manage that. And like, that was the part that like, he's like, that was more of his background than anything else. So it's like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's definitely a fun part of having a kid, because you're like, well, I'm a little old and broken now. My knees don't work. So like he could start doing all that stuff. Yeah. So, but it's funny to watch how comfy he got on a quad and how much he already learns, like just sliding stuff and like counter steer and all that. Like it was never explained to him. It's just natural. Although he has watched Cars, so he knows you gotta, turn left to go right kind of thing.
Has he watched a lot of Travis Pastrana's videos?
He's watched a lot of everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So he sees it.
He's on the path.
Yeah.
He's on the path.
It already happens. He's watched your videos too. So when you see him later, I'll be like, this is the dude from the videos with the bug.
Heck yeah.
So you got any other future videos and plans, speaking of? That you can talk about?
Nothing that's like really concrete. We got some feelers out.
Okay.
We're supposed to do something in Chile potentially, but that's kind of like just seems like it's a logistical nightmare. And just crazy associated costs that would come with it. We also know I know the senator of West Virginia that we're trying to potentially do something out in West Virginia, which would be sick.
There's some really cool stuff out that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, we tried to kind of do that when we did Recoil Tacoma, but there's a lot of reasons why it didn't work out that way. But I think we see so much of off-road stuff in sand that like going and doing it in trees on like with like tight dirt roads, like will just give it such a different look than seeing what we always see in sort of like the classic, Southwest kind of atmosphere. And environment, to be able to create that. Even if you're mixing like urban stuff with other stuff, it's like, it just visually looks so much different than what we play with out here.
100%. Yeah. And I went and scouted in Reno, Virginia City, right outside of Reno, as well as Tahoe. But Tahoe, you can't really find much. There's not much up there. Reno, there's some cool features that we found, because I want to make sure that a lot of them are super natural still too.
I think that's like the most important part.
Yeah,
like natural features just help so much. That's what made like I think that recoil video in Ensenada work so well, is like, they didn't build really anything. Like most of it was just like, you think if you hit that fast enough, you'll go across the road? He's like, oh, one way to try. I mean, realize like probably we can admit this now. It's been like 10 plus years, but like BJ and I, like we went scouting in his pre-runner, and we would just be like, all right, let me close the road. And he would like just jump in the pre-runner. Be like, all right. And be like, it was like me, him, the producer, and one
mark
other person.
The spot.
Yeah, like, okay, that looks good. All right, we'll be back in 2 months to do it for real with the trophy truck. So
I love it, dude. Loose program, especially in Mexico, you can get away with that shit.
Dude, we landed. See, he had like the helicopter at the time. We landed a helicopter at a restaurant to like go get lunch. Like just landed in their parking lot. Didn't tell them we were coming. Just like dropped the heli, and like if you did that in the United States, you would be like hauled off to prison. And in Mexico, it's like, oh, okay, we'll make room for you. We'll move the car. And then I think they just came out and put like a rope around so people wouldn't go near the helicopter. I always say like, I really enjoyed the Gymkhana films, and it was a lot of fun to make. But the recoil films were always special to me because there's just a different energy when you're jumping stuff, but like doing stuff off-road and doing stuff in Mexico is like its own spectacle. So like,
TJ, do you see Erbasol 3 in Tijuana, dude? That shit was that was a lot, but it was sketchy, like fun. There was just such a roller coaster of emotions throughout us shooting.
How big of a crew did you have when you did the Tijuana one?
When we did Revolution Street, we had like 30 people on set, which was...
That's still a small crew compared to like, we would have probably had like 80 to shut that down.
With like PAs and all that. Yeah. And just the road closure. But aside from that shoot, like, or that spot, everywhere else was like 12 to 15 at most.
Nice. Yeah.
And some of them, like when we had the bull arena, like we just had our immediate crew of like 10 of us. But it was just epic. And I definitely want to do a fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's been kind of like, and again, like, you know, the Gymkhana like series was different location, different vehicle, you know? So like, do I need to build another vehicle? Like how much more badass can I build than the TT Bug?
Right.
You know, I can do an all-wheel drive one, but that'd take a lot of finances and a lot of time. So it's like, or do I just do like a fourth one where I incorporate the class 11, you know, Megalodon doing wheelies and then TT Bug and maybe the Death Boat and like have it be a party, kind of like what you guys did. So it's like, yeah, but I'd like to go to one more area with the TT Bug and shoot something sick soon. But it's just, again, it's so much work. And I've had other people, you know, help me out substantially. And I know we've talked. And I've seen
I want to make something. I'm down. We'll figure it out.
3-2-1 that my boy Chuck did for your logo.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Chuck.
He's the homie, dude, and he was so ecstatic on that. And like,
and he just got to do a shirt for 43 Institute too, a Ken Block one, which I know it was like really important.
I bought one.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, he's a good dude, and I love, not to tangent on it, but like I love working with people who really like want to do the work and it means something special to them versus just going to a random designer and being like, hey, can you make this for me? Right. Yeah. Where he was like, dude, like I'd be stoked to do it. And it's like, it's cool to work with that because it means something to him just like it means something to me. Right. So it's a nice combo when those things kind of come together.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, dude. It's always got to. That's how the magic happens, and it just resonates, and it's good for the soul, you know, for everyone.
Well, I think it's a part of like I'm almost jealous, and I think what you've been able to do with both your films and you know Shreddy and all these things. It's like because you very much have kept it like a core friend group that builds everything, and like that's super rad and unique. And I don't think I think it's hard for a lot of people to do that because eventually it becomes business and. You got to bring people in, you got to pay people, and you got to bring in this and that, and it starts to separate it a little bit more than like, you know, early Hoonigan was a lot more fun than later Hoonigan because like it was this tight core group that did things on the weekends together. Like, you know, the day would be over and we'd all just sit in the lot for hours, hanging out, like drinking, talking, doing whatever. Like, you know, as you get bigger, you start to lose that. Like you're at that sweet spot right now. You know, enjoy that. You know,
totally. So. I mean. If we're able to do it now, I don't see like why we can't do it later on. Like, I don't know like how much like what you're saying, like growth and stuff, like it's cool. And don't get me wrong. Like I want to grow. I want more sick cars and more shit. But then sometimes like you get a couple more assets and it's just like a bigger headache or you got more people to deal with. They call them
golden handcuffs for a reason.
We got more people to deal with and manage. And it's like, I feel like every time you elevate, you also kind of like take a step back for your personal gain, you know, personal, like happiness or whatnot, you know? And like, I'm definitely feel like I'm at a very big sweet spot to where it's like, again, I'm like sell an asset, even though I don't want to, I might not even, but if we don't build a 6100, I'll probably do a drift car. I don't take my own advice, and I don't. Yeah.
I think you literally have gone back on what you said just 20 minutes ago, but that's okay.
We're addicted.
Yeah, man. I'm at like 26 cars right now, so it's bad, and I've actually like really had the realization that it's more cars than I could probably finish in the amount of life I have left because I have big ideas for everything, and I need to just start taking some cars and making them really good and then realizing I gotta let other things leave, you know. But I need like I don't have like a varied collection. Like I have like multiples of a lot of things. Like I have 5 Volkswagen Rabbits.
I'll take one.
Maybe we'll just trade for something. It's like that's just too much for that.
Get your kid a dirt bike.
So yeah. You see, that could work out well. But it's like even just like I'm sitting here talking to you, being like, man, I don't really have like a good off-road rig in my like lineup anymore. Like I kind of need that because when I was at Hoonigan, I had access to Can-Ams or Razors and obviously Scumbug, and I don't have access to that anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually I kind of need that in my life. So, that's how
these
that works.
cars, when you get them finished, how much maintenance are they?
The problem with having so many cars is that nothing ever is close to finished and something always breaks. So for example, like you remember my lifted van, the 4x4 that I've got, right?
Oh yeah.
So like that thing's got it's got this J&K like stage 3 engine, makes like 750 horsepower, which is just you don't need that in a van. Like it's so unnecessary, right? It's like I did it for why I don't know. But the other day, like broke the radiator broke because the switch for the clutch came loose, destroyed the fan blades, and it tore up the radiator, right? And then I had but right now it has no air conditioning because I put everything back together, but I don't have an AC machine, so I haven't been able to charge the AC. I need to do that, but I just haven't. So now whenever it's hot, I don't drive that. And I just have a bunch of these kind of problems where everything is just enough broken that it's kind of difficult to deal with, right? It's all these little things. And then I've I built that Audi race car. I think you remember that because you're around here again. It's that thing runs. I haven't driven it yet. It turns on, but I still have to figure out clutch engagement issues, and there's just too many. It's just too many things. I can't actually do all of it. So, I know, because they're just as much, or if not more difficult.
Way more work.
Yeah. Nor do I need a boat, but that's not going to stop me.
You need an off-road car and you need a boat.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes. And it's a different adventure than your norm,
I think a class 11 would be fun. If I was to go do something with it,
to go race?
Yeah, to go race.
Hell yeah.
Because I don't think a class 11 is fun as a fun car because it's not really fun.
Dude, you already got
the fun is the competition side, and it would probably make sense to just buy one that's already built that I fit in. But that's always a problem for me because I'm 6'8". Everyone builds their cages.
We can make it
smaller.
Work. No, there's plenty of room in there.
Well, maybe we'll figure.
Yeah, we can make it work. You
got
the MP Connect.
So that is true.
Rob at MP, dude.
Yeah,
we're calling you, dude. Great. We're building Scotto at class 11.
Did you see the bug that Kira Block's building right now? It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've talked to him.
It was cool to see her of all the things she could build. She was like, I want to build a VW bug. So
and I think it was also she raced one.
Yeah, I know.
At Nitro Cross. I helped her and Lucy and them kind of gave them pointers and just was mentoring them a little bit, and they're just so much fun and so capable.
Yeah.
And I think they saw how capable it was there, and if we can duplicate that but with Windows and kind of have a pre-runner / vibey car and build something from the ground up, that's the platform to do it on.
Yeah.
And still not spend crazy amount of money, but still have something capable, reliable, and cool,
Yeah, bugs are one of those things I always kind of come back to. It's weird as a water-cooled Volkswagen guy, I didn't like them when I was younger because there was this air-cooled, water-cooled thing. You'd go to an event, and all the events were air-cooled events. So you'd go there, and they'd make all the water-cooled guys park in the corner, by the fucking porta potties,
You ain't OG, bro.
Yeah, that's how they, and I really had no interest in them. And then I moved to California, and I think the aesthetic of the Baja bug just looked cooler to me, right? Just the kind of open fenders and that whole vibe, and and just how the headlights looked where they were cut out, all of that just looked cooler, and they just looked cool up. But now I constantly think about man, would it be cool to do even a slammed bug with this in it or that. I find myself just keep going back, and I guess it's to the point you brought up before. It's they are just this classic, perfect, weird archetype of vehicle that nothing else looks like it, right? I mean, sure, there's there's Fiats that look close, but in America, nothing really looks like the bug, and it's so iconic and so different. But I also really like how they feel when you're sitting in them. It's similar to my 911 for obvious reasons, but it has that the cockpit is roomy for me headroom wise, but feels like a cockpit. Like it feels tight. Like I kind of love that in Scumbug, like the whole time you're driving, your arm is rubbing up against your passenger's arm. Like you're just in it, you know? Like there's something like, I don't know, like fighter jet spaceshipy about it, but it's also a bug, which is so
weird. You're just telling me that you need a bug. That's all I'm hearing is Scotto needs a bug.
I run this show just so people can come in. I'm like, maybe I need a bug. And now I'm going to go on Marketplace tonight and just spend hours being like, maybe this. Maybe
I was on there last night and I saw one for $3,000, a 69.
Oh yeah.
Needs a little bit of love, but
they all do.
Yeah.
Do you like other bugs or only off-road bugs?
No, I mean, I have an appreciation for like, my homie has one on bags. Actually, he picked me up when I got out of jail for Urban Assault 1. He dropped me off. My boy Matt Darby dropped me off in his bagged bug. I think it was a 66, and picked me up. So it was like I went to jail for driving a bug.
Got dropped off in a bug
and picked up in a bug.
That works out well. Yeah.
And then while I was going back home to work on my new bug.
Yeah. One of the things I really always wanted to build at some point was a Volksrad, where they just take the bugs and kind of build them like old, like traditional hot rods. Not really traditional, but just hot rods, you know?
There's a lot of different cars that are built off of basically a bug pan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, anything from like Myers Manx to like different kit cars and shit, like that you would never even suspect, you know, movie props and like, I mean, the
kit car world was massive in the 70s for what it'd be like they'd build and everything was just a bug underneath. You know?
Volkswagen.
When I was a kid, I don't know if you remember this because you're a bit younger than me, but there was a trend of putting Rolls Royce front grills on bugs. And there was like this guy near my grandfather's house that had one. And I remember as a kid, I was like, Dad, look at that. And my dad was like, that's gross.
Yeah.
Like
there's so much different shit.
Like he was just like, that's not what cars are. Like he was just like, no. But as a little kid, you're like, look, it's a Rolls Royce. He's like, it's a Volkswagen Bug with a Rolls Royce grill, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he's like stood out. But like people just did the weirdest things with bugs. It's crazy though, because you could still find on Marketplace bugs that feel like somewhat original. Like,
for sure.
Like you would think after these many years there'd be like no good examples left, but there still are like drivers, survivors, and I don't mean restored cars, just cars that are like, this car still feels like no one's like molested this thing yet. It might be on its like 7th paint job, but still,
for sure. Yeah, Scumbug was.
Yeah.
Like
Scumbug definitely did not start orange.
No. It's been blue, black, yellow. Yeah. Like that thing is like a gobstopper.
It's kind of, I like it. It's kind of a cool history of the car. You get to like see all those pieces of it. You
For
know?
sure.
So
no, that's always very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, just, and it's like, that's another thing, dude. How many people own this thing and got it painted the color they wanted? And like, that's something that I just love about bugs.
Yeah, you convinced me. I need a bug now.
Yes.
I didn't know I needed that. Well, I mean, I did, but I forgot. It's a good reminder.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Do you have Scumbug now? Is it in your possession or is it back at Hoonigan?
No, it's at Hoonigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I built it.
I was going to say you should keep it so it stays running and doesn't get mothballed.
We just taught Gary how to drive it.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't blow the transmission out when I'm like, stay on the gas all the way till your tires leave the lip. He stayed on the gas all the way till the tires landed, but luckily it's got a good big transmission in it. Now a Mendiola from Weddle. So thankfully he didn't blow that thing out yet.
Yeah.
But I know people that are going to go and be like, oh, this thing's indestructible. It's like, you still got to, Gary did a great job driving it, but I told him just send it, stay on the gas till you're in the air. But he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience, so we'll give him that one. But other people aren't going to have experience if they let drive that thing, and it will get messed up, and I don't want to have to fix it again.
Yeah.
It's been a decade of fixing that thing. From other people fucking it up.
Oh, did we break it on the trip?
You guys have broke it every time.
Did we break it on the Baja trip that we did?
We had to fix a bunch.
We definitely were constantly fixing little stuff, but
nothing major.
Nothing major. Yeah.
Before I cut that thing apart though, shock mounts in the front, steering rack, just a ton of shit was like just blown out.
That's what happens when you take a bunch of guys who normally drive road cars, have only driven brand new UTVs, and think everything will do what like a Can-Am like X3 will do.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, in the same fashion, yes, but not at the same speeds, or like the side-by-sides game is like when I race my Pro R Polaris, freaking at these desert races, I'm pushing the thing full kill.
Yeah.
Like doing.
Wasn't it last year, the year before, side by side ended up in like the top, like ending in 1,000. They were like in the top 5 or something like that, or top 10.
Yeah, they just keep progressing, and they're one of these days, one of them's gonna overall it.
Oh yeah,
probably be Brock Hager. That dude's a machine.
Oh well, trust me. Like in the rally world, like there's this huge fight about bringing them in or not, because they're gonna end up being on the podium with like top level rally cars because 100%. They're so quick. So I think now, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but if I remember hearing it correctly, they're allowing them in the series, but they're like in their own class and they don't compete for overall standing. Yeah.
They want to keep it somewhat pure.
They want to keep it pure to the original sport, which I understand, but 100%. It's such an easier point of entry for people to go build a UTV because it's way more durable than building a rally car. And like, honestly, for the lower level rally car that you could build for that price, it's a lot more fun. It's a much more capable vehicle. Right?
For sure. I mean, I support it because it drags people into the sport. And if they can be good at, running that class in a UTV, maybe they'll find some sponsors and be able to break bread and build something legit. Yeah. That's still like OG and core. Yeah. And that's something that kind of, I feel like happens in the UTV class. It's like, well, you want more, you want to go bigger. So they go from like a UTV to like a class 10 car or to a 6100 truck, class 1 buggy. Like there's always room to like improve and step up if you want to go bigger, stronger, faster. It's same thing, I guess, with the rally world.
Yeah. For you, what's your take on UTVs in the market? Because I know that like the old school guys, like they still call them golf carts, even though they're ridiculously fast now. Yeah. Like how like, and then I know that like a lot of the dune guys feel like it's replaced a lot of what the old school dune culture was, and the 100%. Buggies, right? Like we don't see buggies as much anymore. Like what's your opinion on that?
I mean, on big weekends out there, it's 90% side by sides now. Yeah. I think it's a blessing because it really helped the off-road economy, like, and market, like, flourish. Brought new sponsors. It's done a lot for the off-road community, but it's like, shoot, there's so many people going now. It's like, we can't, like, camping and like, unless you go on off weekends, if you want to go on the holiday weekends when everybody's got time off and like, it's a giant party, but I think some of the people that it brings are disrespectful of the desert, with trash and just blasting music till freaking the sun comes up. And, there's also those people that, are older that you see cruising around with their dog in the side by side, like just still living it where they don't got time to tinker with dual Volkswagen carbs, syncing them up or changing plugs or whatnot, so like,
or dropping 300, 400 grand on a sand rail. That's like a fully built. Yeah.
I miss that purest, like Volkswagen dominant, like, I guess time, because like, that's what I grew up with, going to Glamis and Buttercup and Gordon's Wells. And it was all super people that were very, very passionate and respected and loved the desert, because it was their adventure, and it's still an adventure for people today. I just don't feel like they had to really like ride that gritty, like, and that like mechanical, like being mechanical to fix your shit or build your shit. Now it's just, here's a payment, here's a payment, and I'm going to go disrespect somebody's like happy place, so like, but it has brought sponsors, brought companies, brought awareness, built up the off-road community, so like, I think there's more pros than there are cons, but the small part of the cons definitely like hits deep.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that. I remember my first time at Glamis. We went like on a weekday in off season, so it was like nobody there, and
Bliss, huh?
it was fucking amazing. Like
Yeah.
it was such a cool day, and we were there like before. It was we had Can-Ams, but it was before they came out with the Maverick. So like it was basically like a like a
X3?
Banshee. It was before the X3.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm sorry. It was before the X3, but it was the Maverick.
Okay.
But it was like a way more upright, felt like a golf cart. Like was nowhere near sort of like what a Razor was at the time, and felt more like kind of what was those original. What were like the original ones everyone was building before the Razor?
Yamaha?
Yeah, what were those called? The
Rhino.
Rhinos. Yeah, it was like somewhere like just a notch above a Rhino at the point. But it was really like one of my first like real off-road experiences other than being with other people. It was like my first experience like going and driving and just ripping around. And like it was me, Vinny, and Jason Ellis. And like we just were just thrashing in the dunes for a day, and Ashley. And it's funny because like Ashley had spent a lot more time doing that stuff than me and Vinny did. So she was just like showing me and Vinny up like left and right because like we were these road car guys from New York who'd never been around it. But I think there was this one moment where I'm like standing on the top of the dunes. And like I'm not this person, but it was like almost a spiritual moment where you're looking over the caps of like all of the edges of the dunes and you can just see for miles. Yeah. And there's no one there.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely nuts. Just be like, wow, this is crazy that this exists here. Yeah. Yeah. It's super cool. So,
and that's, I think, something like why I haven't really got into drifting, because I know I'll probably be doing dumb shit on the street and like the tracks are kind of limited, and it just doesn't give me as much of a sense of adventure. Yeah. Like whereas off-road, it's like, and that's something that I want to try to really like get back into, because I've been doing a lot of racing, whether it's a Class 11, the UTV, the Pro R, but like that's one thing about Baja is like pre-running, it's still kind of like an adventure before the race. Yeah. So it's super chill. But like I want to go to like St. Anthony Sand Dunes. I've never been there.
Where is that?
Idaho.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like that's one of my big bucket lists. I've only been to Dumont one time, and it's like they're not crazy far. They're pretty far, but still, like I want to go back to like doing content and some YouTube videos of just like what originally like we did on Shreddy Lyfe's YouTube was go freaking on these sick adventures and just take people along for the ride and show our blissful experiences, those views, like these places that exist that are just like epic. Yeah. You know,
I never really thought about that part of off-road that makes it different is the like adventure element. Cause like you're out there. Yeah. And if something goes wrong, you really need to be prepared to self-rescue and get yourself out of situations, especially if you're out there like by yourself. Solo. Yeah. And like you don't have that like a track day event or something like that. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think I fell in love with like Mexico when we went down there with Scumbug both times, because it was just like, I can't believe we could just go do all of this. Like, remember we went to that beach and there was like just all those trails there, and like we just found a cool beach that we decided to camp at, and then we found all these like little things to like go rip around on, and it's like it just felt so open and you could just do whatever you wanted. Like that just doesn't exist in everyday life.
We all camped out there, right? I think
we camped at a bunch of weird places. We camped there, and then we also camped like in the middle of like a random like dirt parking lot one night because I think we were just exhausted and
cruising.
It was the only place, but we camped at one place that's like 3 hours south of San Felipe, and we were on the water. That spot was pretty cool. Yeah. Because we found that spot the year before you came out with us when we had the original Baja bug or the original Scumbug down there. It was just kind of a regular bug, and we found that spot in the dark on the Sea of Cortez. We had no idea it was on the water. We just found a spot. We're like, all right, we're gonna camp here, and then woke up in the morning to that view, and everyone was like, "Yo, get out of your tent! This looks insane!" And like that's such a great adventure part of it. I think the part of and this is coming from somebody who spent their world on in track cars and that kind of stuff, and a bit of rally and whatever, but I think the part that was always really interesting to me was, for me to go do a track day at like Willow Springs, it's going to put me back a couple $100, right? Just to pay to be there. And then I got to do all the other stuff. I got a trailer and everything else. But like, if you're into off-road racing, there's so much more stuff that's accessible. And sure, you need the trailer, you need the truck, you need all the stuff to get there. But like, once you get there, like, you have this massive place to go rip around at and to go do stuff, whether it's like, you know, Pismo Beach, or like there's so many, you know, or like obviously Glamis, or, you know, even like up by Darren Parsons, like in, you know, Ridgecrest. It's like I would drive out the back of his house and just go drive, like rip roads for hours.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all super accessible. And and I know you guys are in the process. I know like the off-road community is losing a lot of that right now and a bunch of things that are happening, but there's still a lot of access. And in the world of, you know, track day stuff, like there's like no racetracks left. Like they're all closing down. Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting, especially if you live in this area where you're like, yeah, off-road is, there's still, and I know like there is a major fight right now to keep that going, and a bunch of land was just lost for off-road stuff, but there's still a lot of opportunity to go do that. And it's like, it creates such a different access point. Because I think for me as a kid,
and experience.
Yeah, but I think you can go do more of it. You can get more seat time. There's more of a community around it. Where as a kid, I never went on track because I couldn't afford to. Like, I didn't start to go do track stuff until I was working in a business that paid me to go do it. I couldn't afford to go like to Lime Rock to go racing. Yeah. We'd go drag racing, but even that was like $50 to get like, you know, 5 runs for the night. You know,
was back in the day.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Yeah. So I don't know. It's. I think that's an interesting part of the community. I remember driving home with Vinny, and I think we were coming home from it was either Lucerne or wherever, and I was like, man, I kind of want to like just sell all of my cars and get like a cool off-road truck or something, because like this feels so accessible, where 90% of what we do doesn't feel accessible.
Yeah.
So, and for you, it probably doesn't feel weird at all because you've been doing it since you were a kid. So it's just normal. But for someone from the outside looking in the off-road community, it always is like, wait, you can just go find some BLM land and like go drive on trails. Like, that's cool. You know? So.
No, I love it, dude. That's why it keeps me coming back.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've done it my whole life, so, and I don't think it'll ever change.
Yeah. I had a question I wanted to ask you before and I forgot, but what do you Megalodon or Trophy Bug? Which one is your, like, what do you prefer driving? Because they must be very, very different machines, right?
It depends on the activity. Like dunes, Megalodon eats. You got that cutting brake. It's lightweight. It rotates. It wheelies. You can like bunny hop shit by seat bounce and stuff. It doesn't jump as good. TT Bug is like a big marshmallow. You go to hard pack, it eats all the square edge bumps.
Yeah.
It flies way more balanced because of its weight balance. And it's weight. So, and then the balance point of it. Dunes, Megalodon.
Mm-hmm.
Hard pack, big jumps, square edges, go really, really fast, but through rough terrain, TT Bug. Racing, class 11.
I love it.
Straight up, dude. So sick.
We should figure out a race to do together, because I'd love to get out in a class 11. I think it looks super
like fun. Drive my car? Or are you gonna
I'll figure one out. Whatever it is. Yeah. You're like, you're not driving my car. You're like, I've seen what you guys do to things.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd let you take it for a spin.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Way you can try one before you buy one, or build one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
what is the build on a class 11 these days cost?
It can. I kind of ramped that up a little bit.
You ruined it for everybody. What does a used class 11 go for?
It depends on the components. Like to have like a Sletton engine, like an engine that I run a full season on. A price point entry on one of those fully balanced, like full kill motors is like 12 G's.
Okay.
So,
which is a crazy amount of money to spend on an engine that makes like 70 horsepower.
Upside down 69. 96.
96.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's like if you have no block, clutch, just like everything turnkey, But there's other packages that are cheaper of his. You can still build a decently competitive engine for, I'd say 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
No pun with that stupid saying. And then, shock packages, like if you built one and you bought like a cage kit to where like, if you have a welder, you don't have a tubing bender, but you got a grinder and whatnot, like you can put one together for like 25 grand. And that's like still very, very competitive.
Right. And be able to run a season with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a full season with just basic maintenance. Yeah. That's like good trans, all that stuff. But you can still peel that back even more if you needed to, if you wanted to. But if you don't, yeah. But then the resale on them is still really good if you don't go and wad your shit up.
There's always the don't wad your shit up thing.
Yep, for sure. Luckily, I've never rolled the Class 11 except for one time when Cowboy Cerrone put me in the wall because he got tangled up with somebody else. But what am I going to do about it? Go talk shit to him and get knocked out?
No, yeah, probably not a good
He's
idea.
the homie too, so yeah.
You don't really seem like a talk shit kind of guy, though. You were one of the most, like, just generally good vibe happy people I know. Like, I'm sure you get mad in life, but I haven't seen it. Like, I've seen you annoyed at us, but in a, like, you idiots kind of way.
I signed up for it, dude. I'm more mad at myself.
You're like, yeah, I got myself into this. So,
Yeah.
Are you familiar at all with folk cross racing? Or like folk race is really what it's like Swedish racing.
Yeah, like rally style?
It's rallycross racing, but
Yeah.
a lot of times bugs compete.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one viral video where that bug hangs a tire.
Oh yeah,
making a right, hangs a
yeah.
tire. Oh dude, people send build a rally bug all the time. I'm like, I already got a few of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not like a rally specific style, but
I wonder if we could go, because it would be kind of fun to just do a Class 11 class with like ARA and rally.
That'd be sick.
Because it's like then everyone who has one can just show up and we can all compete and go do some rally stuff with it too. Yeah. I'm sure there's a couple things we'd have to add to like make their rule book, but like that could be an interesting thing. Because I think that would also be really fun. There's one or two bugs that compete in rally in America in the ARA series, and it's like they're not fast, but they look cool. Like again, it's like just seeing these things like airing over little jumps and stuff. It's pretty fun.
Sign me up.
Yeah, that
I need to look in the rule book. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I'll send you over some specs on it, but I bring up the Rallycross thing because that I think is also like a really fun format for sure. Like an affordable vehicle to like kind of go do, and and you can even get in that probably a bit cheaper. You don't have to be a full Class 11 car. You could just build something that kind of works. But you see, like you'll see races in in Sweden or wherever, and it's like there's one of those, and it's like it's beating like a bunch of other cars that should be faster, but you're like, oh, that thing's out there just smoking it.
Power to weight ratio.
Yeah, and also on dirt with a engine in the back over the rear wheels, like a ton of good grip.
Yeah.
So which
sure.
Always made those work. All right, sir, we got a lot of plans to do. So, but
yeah, build you a Baja Bug, go rally racing with the Baja Bug. It's all focused around bugs.
Yeah, and I know I'd also like to make we need to make a video at some point. We've been talking about it forever. It'd be cool. It'd be really fun to make a film with you. I don't want to step on any of your other guys' toes because I know you have like a team to do something.
Dude,
we go build something else.
I'm ready.
I hit up Teague the other day and I was like, you want to make? I was like, we should finally make something cool with Blake next year. And he's like, we've got some things in conversation. So I was like,
but it ain't really going nowhere. Teague. If it is going places, I don't know about it, Teague. God damn it.
But yeah, no, I would that would be a fun one. So,
bro,
not saying you need my help, but it'd be fun to work together.
I think that would be another huge dream come true.
Yeah, I think we just it's got to be like the right idea, the right place. Yeah.
It always, yeah.
Figure out a concept. But,
yeah,
we'll talk more on it.
If you guys got any suggestions? Or you got any connections, people?
Connections are always good.
Comment
if
that
you're
shit
like
down.
if you're like my dad's the president of a South American country, or like my father runs whatever, and you could come take over all of this. Like that's what you need. You need those connections.
That's what we need.
So
that's what we need for Urban Assault 4.
Yeah. Were you there for the golf course stuff that we did with the Can-Ams? Did you come out for that Battle Royale?
I don't think so.
How about I thought you were driving in that?
I did do a golf course. I ripped up a golf course.
Yeah, you did that too, right?
That was another Heatwave video.
Oh, okay.
Country Club Assault.
Oh, I remember that. That's it.
Yeah, that was with Mayan Speccarelli and his Pro 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to go short course racing, but dude, that shit, these guys tearing these trucks up, bro. Looks like so much fucking fun though. Yeah. And I mean, I was in it originally in the beginning just as a mechanic and always around it. And I always, it's like, one day I want one of those too. I've actually looked on Marketplace a bunch for one. Breaking my own damn rules again.
This show just always ends with people just being like, yep, I was on Marketplace looking about that. So. Well, dude, thank you for coming out today. Thank you for dealing with the sweltering heat in the garage. And
it's spicy.
It is a little spicy in here today.
Yeah.
I'm happy you wore deodorant.
Want some ice cream?
Yeah, we should go get some ice cream.
I'm down.
Let's get it. I'm after it.
Ice cream.
The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full. The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Heatwave just created my favorite sunglasses of all time, the Easy Rider Photochromic. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I've learned to really value what yellow lenses can do for your vision when you're driving at night in your 40s. And look, I get it. Yellow lenses, they can be a little dorky unless you're cosplaying as the operator from Sicario. But with these, they actually transition to look like regular shades in the sunlight, letting you stealthily blend right in. So anyway, thanks Heatwave for making these for me. I guess they actually made them for everybody. Go find yours at heatwavevisual.com. I'm a tool dork. My obsession might even dwarf my addiction to cars. I love collecting unique and specialty tools, which is how I initially fell in love with Wera. First off, they just make aesthetically pleasing tools. They feel good in your hand, they have a great finish, their sizes are universally color-coded, and they are super strong. In 2 decades, I've never broken a tool from Wera. I wish I could say the same about my other tools. But the thing I like the most about Wera is that they create clever solutions for your wrenching woes, because you need over-engineered tools to work on today's over-engineered cars. So if you're ready to step up your tool game, whether it's the Zyklop ratchet or the Joker wrenches, find them at weratools.com. All anyone wants to talk about nowadays is how great 90s car culture was. But what everyone forgets is how bad our slammed cars rode on crappy lowering springs. At the time, that's all my wallet could muster. But when I finally did step up and get some proper coilovers, I went for KWs and never looked back. I've been running their stuff for over 2 decades now, in everything from my 911 to my RS2. I even have a custom set in my Land Rover Discovery. And yes, that bloody thing does finally run. Anyway, check them out, kwsuspensions.com.